Hello everyone. I hope everyone is staying home and staying safe. My name is Arya Vyas and this is going to be our sixth lesson. Once again, I would like to thank everyone for your support and encouragement. I've actually made my own separate YouTube channel known as Digital Diaries, where I have explained every single concept that we have learned until now separately in different videos so you can understand the concepts and the tactics better. I have also covered up all the basic rules of chess and how we should be thinking in the middle game, in the end game. And now, just because we know the different parts of the middle game and the end game, that does not mean that we completely know chess. Because our generation actually has much more wide amounts of knowledge and information compared to what the people had maybe 200 years ago. Because now we have an online database that gets updated every single second of the day. And so no one can actually completely know the game of chess because it is a very vast game which has many different variations at every single move that you play. But because you want to be like a proper professional player, then you have to play at least one game every day, because every time you play a new game, you will get to learn a different idea. You will get a better understanding of the game. If you lose, win or draw, it doesn't really matter. It matters that you are getting different experiences. You are getting to play with different people with different variations. So always remember that you should play at least one game every day. Even in this quarantine, we have online websites that I have gotten some queries about. So it doesn't matter which level you are playing from. Chess.com and leaguechess.org are two websites that you should always go to because it has a wider number of people using it. So you will also get more experience and more different type of people from different nationalities. In today's class, we are actually going to learn the topic of openings, because openings are the main foundation of the game. So now let's dive into the openings. One thing that we should always keep in mind while playing the game of chess is to always have this kind of mentality and a proper plan that you are following, so that you don't keep changing the type of game that you are playing or the type of variation that you are going to go into. Just like that, even for the opening, there is one basic points that we should always remember so that we don't make any major blunders or mistake right in the beginning of the game. Because the opening sets the basic foundation of the whole entire game. And if you make a very big mistake in the opening, it will be harder for you to cover it up in the middle game. But if your opening is solid and if you have played a well-constructed game, then you will be able to easily go into attack during the middle game and the end game. But how do we know if the opening is well-constructed or not? There are a few points that you should keep in mind so that you would be able to play a good opening. First of all, and that is most majorly, is always try to occupy the center with your central pawns. Which are the central pawns? The central pawns are the E and D pawns. Always try to place at least one pawn in the center so that you can secure two squares in the main center. The main center are the squares E4, D4, D5 and E5. Also, it is important that whenever you promote or develop your pieces, it should always be near the center, and never move the same piece twice, because when you will move the same piece twice, you are actually losing a tempo. What is a tempo? Tempo is also known as the move, but in the opening it is more important, because if you keep wasting your time, then you will end up losing your time during the middle game. And in the middle game, you don't have any time to waste. You have to straight go into attacks or trying to do tactics that I have explained in the previous videos. So always when you move your pieces, move them with a proper plan, move them with an attack, and never move the same pieces twice. Also, to keep your king safe before the middle game and the end game, never forget to castle. Always keep it in your mind that never forget to castle, because if you forget to castle, your king will become vulnerable in the center, and once all the exchanges start happening and the center opens up, it will be very hard for you to stop your opponent from attacking your king. So never forget to castle. One more thing that you should try to do is try to delay your opponent's castling, because the same thing can happen to your opponent. If your opponent is not able to castle, then it will become very easy for you to go and attack their opponent's king. Now, if the opponent's king is left in the center, then how will you take advantage of it? Now is when the importance of the pawns in the center come in. If you would have some pawns in the center, you can easily open up the files and you can attack more easily. One more thing is that never bring out your queen too early, because once you bring your queen out, it is exposed to the attacks of many different pieces. And once your queen is out, if you bring it back, it becomes a very passive move. You're playing the same piece twice and you're losing tempos also. So this is all going against the basic rules of chess. So never bring your queen out too early in the opening, except if you have a proper plan or a proper reason, or unless you are forced to do it. If none of them is true, then don't move your queen out too early. One more thing is that whenever your opponent is attacking you in the opening, don't move back. Try to keep advancing, because again, if you move back, it becomes a passive move and you end up losing your tempos. One more thing is, how do we know when the opening gets over? The opening is set to be over once your two rooks are connected. How will the two rooks come into connection? That is when all your pieces are out of the last rank. One more thing is that in the opening, never play useless pawn moves in the corners of the board, because that's going to only happen once the actual attack starts happening. But at this point, it is not prioritized for you to move your corner pawns. It's more important for you to advance the pawns in the center so that you can easily create all your pieces, bring them into the center, get some space. Why is space important? Because you have to be able to remove your pieces from the first rank. That is why don't waste your time in playing pieces in the corner. So these are the main things that you should be following while playing the opening. And again, don't waste time. The main objective of the opening is to control the center, bring your pieces to the center, and castle your king and then attack. Those are the main guidelines of the opening. So today I am going to go through a game that was played in 1620 in Europe by Greco. But first of all, why is it important for us to go through classic games? Because in classic games there are some new unique ideas and some different types of plays and openings that have been demonstrated that we can apply into our own games, and so that we can also learn from the mistakes that other players have made. So now let's get into the game. The game starts with e4. As I said, it is very important to occupy the center, and that is exactly what white is doing. So e4, e5, black also follows the plan. Knight on f3, white moves with an attack, develops. Knight to c6, black also develops while protecting the pawn, but at the same time he is developing. Bishop to c4. This is one more very important move played by white, so that it's attacking the pawn on f7. Bishop on c5. Black does the same thing, attacking on f2, because these pawns are the weakest pawns right now, because only the king is protecting them. So these moves are really good moves. And now this is where the variation comes in. White plays c3. This has now turned into the opening now known as the Italian opening. The Italian opening works on developing the plan towards d4. d4 directly attacks into the center and immediately goes into attacking. But we don't play d4 this early because our king is still vulnerable and in the center. This is where black makes the first mistake. Queen on e7. Queen on e7 is a very unplanned move. Why is this? Because first of all, black is moving the queen to a square where it doesn't have any main reason to move to. Maybe black has the idea of queenside castling, but it is far too late now to try and go into that, because it would take black 3 more moves, that is d6, developing the bishop maybe to g4, and then queenside castling, and that would take 3 moves. But in this position, black can castle in 2 moves, that is knight to f6 and castle. At the same time, with knight to f6, black will be attacking the pawn on e4, so that would be an attacking move as well. But here instead, black has played queen to e7, and this is actually a waste of move. After queen e7, white immediately castles and protects the king, now aiming for d5 and opening up the center. Why would white want to do this? Because black's king is stuck in the center. Now, after castle, black plays d6. As I said, black might have the idea of doing a queenside castle, but it is already slightly too late. After d6, white immediately does d4 and straight goes into the attack, because there is nothing stopping white at this point from not attacking black. Also because the king is vulnerable in the center, so white is trying to create some space for his pieces to come in the center and attack. So now after d4, bishop on d6 is forced. He is forced to return because the pawn is attacking the bishop. After that, white attacks once again and develops at the same time with bishop to g5, attacking the queen. Here, what do you think would be a good move for black? Actually, even though knight on f6 sounds like a very bad move because we're putting ourselves into the pin, it's actually better than letting our king stay in the center because white has already started to attack the main center. So at this point, maybe knight on f6 would have been a better move. But black instead opens up this diagonal more and white actually takes advantage of it. After f6, white plays bishop on h4, continuing to leave the pressure on this pawn. And then now, black tries to remove the pressure by playing g5. At this point, we may think that maybe black is in a good position because he has been able to create an attack towards the bishop and is actually advancing towards the white king. But at this point, white sees that the black king is very weak and so he does a sacrifice. Now, a sacrifice is when you give up a piece with a proper plan, with a proper initiative. What is an initiative? Initiating is an advantage, a positional one or a materialistic one. In this case, it is a very positional advantage that can very easily turn into materialistic. But to open up these pawns, white has sacrificed a piece. So after knight on f6, you might be wondering, isn't white giving away this piece for no reason? After f takes g5, which is actually what happened in the game, white sees the opportunity and takes advantage of the move f6 with queen to h5 check. Now, black actually cannot play the king to d8. Can you guess why? This is because this pawn can be captured, causing a pin on the queen, and therefore black will end up losing the queen. So now king to f8 was almost forced. With that, after king to f8, white continues with bishop into g5, attacking the queen. Black plays queen to e8, trying to exchange the queens. This is one more thing that we should note down. Even if black is not in a very decisive position, you can try to equalize the game by exchanging your two queens. Because once you exchange the queens, the amount of attack that your opponent has is very drastically decreased. So queen on e8. But white does not exchange and plays queen to f3 check instead. After queen to f3 check, black is forced to play king to g7 because on e7 there's a bishop, on f7 it's both the bishop and the queen, and if the knight tries to block, then it is gone for free or with the queen. If the queen tries to block, then it would become a checkmate. So black is forced to play the king to g7. Now actually, if we think about it, if this knight wasn't here, then this would be a mate in one move because the queen to f6 and the king has nowhere to move to. And that is exactly what white tries to do. This is eliminating the defender, and over here actually black did have a chance to escape from the checkmate by playing king takes g8, but instead he made a mistake by playing rook takes g8, and now queen on f6, and this was a checkmate. This game taught us on why we should avoid wasting our moves, why we should avoid keeping our king right in the center. And it also shows us the importance of castling and playing attacking and proper decisive moves. So now we are going to see one more game by Greco, which was also played in 1620, again in Euro. Once again in this we are going to see how white takes advantage of the mistakes that black has made. The opening that was played in this game is actually very unusual, and it will properly teach us how we should take advantage of the basic opening rules and apply them into how winning the game. So e4, again we capture the center, e5, until now everything is good. Knight on f3, once again it's proper development, and this is where actually black goes wrong with f6. f6 is an opening that has been played but no longer considered as a good opening. Why is this? Because once again you're opening the diagonal towards your king, you're blocking the development of your knight, and also because you're stopping your queen from coming towards the king's side to further attack, maybe during the middle game. So here white immediately takes advantage of this and goes straight into attack. Now this might seem like a weird move, right? And even white's king sounds and looks quite vulnerable, but because we have this one pawn in the center covering it, white's king is not under any proper threat. Also because if we start the attack from now onwards, black will not get a chance to counter attack against white. So now there's knight into e5, pawn into e5, and then straight queen to h5 check. Even in the last game, we saw this is the same exact way how white took advantage of this immature move f6. After queen to h5 check, black is forced to play king to h7. Now when white gave the check, at the same time there was an attack on this pawn. So queen takes e5. The material now is almost equalized. We have two pawns for a knight and a very good attack planned at the king. And so we have compromised what we have lost, that is the knight, and gotten a proper initiative actually in front of black. After queen to e5 check, once again black is forced to play the king to e7. After king to king to f7, we are going to once again attack by playing bishop to c4 check. Now why is it important to bring in more pieces? Because at this position we could have played many different checks with maybe queen to f5, queen to f4, queen to d5. But why did we not play these moves? Because when you are going to attack, you should always try to bring in more pieces. Try to bring more pieces towards the center, most importantly towards the center, and attacking and looking towards the king so that you will be able to corner the king and be able to checkmate. So after bishop to c4 check, actually black had the choice of playing d5 and protecting. But why is this a bad move? Because once you play d5, you have actually kind of opened up your position more, and which gives more white more scope to bring more pieces into the game and actually attack your king better. So instead, black played the move king to g6. After king to g6, to limit once again the number of squares that the black king can go to, white played queen to f5 check. Here once again the opponent's king was forced to go towards the center, having only one square. After king to h6, there was a very easy but clever move played by white, and that was pawn to d4 check. This is a very good illustration how to use the tactic discovered check. Now once again, here white could have played the moves maybe queen to f4, which is also a check. maybe brought g4 to attack the king, but it's important to bring in more pieces to attack your opponent's king. Also, with queen to f4, you are actually once again giving the opponent a chance to counter attack. You should never give your opponent a chance to counter attack, because then you are reducing the chances of you winning the game, and you are giving your opponent an opportunity to actually draw the game or win the game. So with d4, you are bringing your pawns to the center, at the same time giving a check. Now black is left with only one proper option. Though there are two ways to protect from this check, there is only one good option. The two options are queen to g5 and pawn to g5. Now first let's go to queen to g5. Queen to g5 is a straight out blunder. Why is it such a big blunder? Because queen into g5 and this is checkmate. Why can the black king not capture the queen? Because there is a bishop protecting it. So queen to g5 is not a good move. The only other move is pawn to g5. Sorry, the queen is here. Pawn to g5. Now, what will white play? White will take advantage of the tactic pin. What is pinned? This pawn is pinned by this bishop. If the pawn moves, then there will be a check. Therefore, the pawn cannot move anymore. Now, there is actually a very simple but such a strong move that forces black to get checkmated, and that is h4. Why is h4 such a strong move? It seems so simple because h4 is actually threatening for a checkmate. How is it doing that? It is h into g5. H into g5 is a very close to checkmate similar situation because it is a double check. Double check is the strongest check on the board. That is because two pieces are checking the king at the same time. And so black has only one more move, that is king to g7 and then queen to f7, checkmate. But here, what can black do to save himself? There's not much actually, because there's only one square, and that is king to g7 to stop white from playing pawn takes g5. So king to g7, queen to f7 check, forced to play king to h6, and then h takes g5, and this is a checkmate. Once again, what did we learn in this game? We learned that we saw the mistakes played by black, so never unintentionally or unnecessarily move the pawns in front of your king or move the cornered pawns. Always try to bring in your pieces towards the center. Don't leave your king too vulnerable in the center for a long time, and always try to castle and save yourself and activate your pieces, because all of black's pieces are completely inactive right now, and this is one of the reasons why the black pieces could not come and defend against white. What we just saw were actually two classical games, both played in Europe in 1620 by Greco, in which both of them he was white and white won the two games. What were the main things that we should have noted down while going through these games? We should have seen how white took advantage of the opponent's weaknesses on the mistakes made by the opponent. What were the mistakes made by the opponent in both the games? The king had been left in the center. The pawns not in the center were moved unnecessarily, thus again weakening the pawn structure and the king. There was no proper plan that black was following, and there was no attack that was being placed in the center. So white was not even pressurized to make a single mistake, and it was very easy for white to attack. What were the good things that white did that helped white to win the game? White took advantage of the center, established a proper control and a proper foundation throughout the game. White opened up the center as soon as the opponent's king became vulnerable, and white brought the proper number of pieces and kept all the pieces into play and coordinated to be able to achieve checkmate towards the end. Now, why did we go through these classic games? Once again, once you go through classic games, you will actually learn from the mistakes made by black in this case, and we will be able to see the different ideas and the different tactics, such as the pin, the skewer, double attack, annihilation of defenses, all of which white took advantage of to be able to win this game. all the already professional players, I would like to know your views about the games and your comments. And if any players have any doubts regarding these games or any queries on why a move was played by black or white, you can comment it or share your doubts with me, and I will, as soon as possible, I will clear them up. So to end this lesson, first of all, I would like to thank all my coaches and my instructors who have helped me to reach to this level. And actually without them, I would have never been able to reach to what I'm doing right now. I would have never been able to do them. So thank you to all of them. Now to end the lesson, I would like to share some tips and what you should put into your schedule so that you can become a better chess player. First of all, every day when you sit down to play chess, always remember that you are striving to becoming a better player than you were yesterday or than you were at this moment. That is also what I aim to do, that whenever I play chess, I strive that than I am right now. By the end of this training, I would become a better chess player, and I would tell all of you to also implement that. The very important quote that we should remember is that practice makes a man perfect. So what should we practice? Every day you should have like a proper number of puzzles that you do almost every day on a daily basis, so that you can keep refreshing what the ideas are, you can keep refreshing your different tactics. In chess, the tactics are actually like warm up in fitness. In fitness, whenever we're going to play a sport or actually go and do a proper game, we always warm up before it. Same for chess. Before you go and actually play a game, I would insist on all of you to spend half an hour at least on doing tactics, but don't overwork yourself, but always set a small number, maybe 25 or 50 tactics that you do before a match, or just randomly. Every day you should solve at least 25 to 50 tactics. Also, every day try to play at least 1 or 2 games online, so that you can have a different experience against different types of people, different types of gameplay, and also so that you can keep refreshing what you are playing. Keep some openings in your mind and try to memorize them and keep them by heart, but don't play them blindly. Understand what the threats are, understand what the different variations are, and it depends on how your game plays also. If you are an attacking player, then don't play a passive opening. How do you know if you're an attacking player or a passive player? That will only come through experience. So keep trying to play online and keep in mind the different commandments and the tips that I am sharing, because it is the same thing that I am trying to follow as well. Once again, everyone, stay home, stay safe, and take care. Thank you.